perspective or even my perspective, it sounds to me like what you did for 2 weeks is you just said, hey, everyone who doesn't like Phil, contact me and talk to me. I mean, you even had a clip from It's a Gundam, one of the most infamous people who rags on me all the time, as an audio question at the end of the interview.
Papa
And
Gundam, yeah.
what I would like to ask you right now, and I hope that you'll be honest with me.
Sure, I will.
In your efforts to gather information about me for this interview, did you talk to anyone who actually likes me?
Well, I think I was open to talking to anybody who would, but nobody reached out that said they really liked you. And I don't mean that negatively. I mean, I said I was
no,
doing
there's
this
a good
interview.
reason for it, and I'll explain it in a second, but, go ahead.
But so with that said, like, when you say you're going to do an interview with somebody and you say, hey, I'm open to talking to all people, if there are people who go out of their way to like you, they didn't reach out to me, right?
Okay.
So your theory of like I only collected things from detractors at the time, you know what? It may be right, but once again, it wasn't malicious. These are all things that people were curious about, and you have to admit, Phil, when you're essentially radio silent for a decade and people don't go in and they don't have an opportunity to interview you, it's important to flush those pipes out and just get it all out there, right? It goes back to the elephant in the room, right? When you have this giant elephant that everyone's staring at, if you don't have an opportunity to talk about those things, whether they're personal or not, right? Then they should be addressed, because that is what the DSP lore is all about.
Right.
So, if you did have to use the opposite side of this, the detractor versus the champions for DSP, not a single champion reached out and was like, hey, did you know this? Did you know that Phil donates to charity? Do you know whatever, right? And had they, then we would have. Now, with that said, leading up to this, you also knew what this was going to look like, because you prefaced me. I mean, I have our emails pulled up, and you gave me, sent me ammo saying, hey, this is what I think they're going to ask. And I feel like I've addressed a lot of these things. You sent me videos of you addressing these things. But as you said, you wanted this to be the definitive DSP interview, right?
Right.
So if you want it to be the definitive DSP interview, then naturally I should be listening to everybody who has criticisms of you. And if there is this lore that's attached to it, then I wouldn't be doing my job as the interviewer to do research, good and bad, about the interviewee. Otherwise, it's a fluff piece.
Okay. And fair enough. And I accept that answer. But now I'm going to give you my response. Okay.
Sure.
And you probably don't know this. All right. The reason that my fans don't reach out and get involved in this kind of stuff is because my detractors, okay, those people who you were talking to get questions to ask me, systematically hunt down, harass, dox, and do horrible things to anyone who publicly supports me. Okay. And I'm not just talking like, oh, someone was in the chat and said, I like Phil. I mean, they'll try to hunt these people down, find their social media, find where they live, find where they work, call them, harass them, call them pedophiles, do horrible things to them. There's been supporters documented who give me a $100 tip, and then they get hacked and stuff. It's really, really messed up. I mean, case in point, Craig, do you not remember? Maybe you don't remember this. It was like a week or two before the interview. They tried to dox you. You remember that, right? And I told you about it. I said, just so you know, they gave your an address on the internet, and I don't think it's real. And they did it to you. So if they're doing it to you, obviously they're not going to. My fans who like me are not going to speak up in a public venue like that and be like, "Oh yeah, now I want to talk about Phil." No, they'll watch me. They'll silently support me, as they have done for a very long time. But they're not going to put themselves into the line of fire of these already deranged people.